Welcome, cast, creator of Tell Me a Story. Welcome. Who wants to set up the show? I've heard a lot about it, but I'm not quite sure I still have a full handle on what it is.
About?
Well, I think it's fairy tale inspired, but it's not a traditional fairy tale story.
Exactly. That's kind of it. It's based on a series that from Argentina that was called Tell Me a Story. It was sort of a modern twist on some of the classic fairy tales, and what I loved about it was that, you know, when we think of fairy tales, we kind of think Disney fairy tales because they've sort of co-opted it. But the original fairy tales that were written back in, you know, the Grimm fairy tales, the Hans Christian Andersen ones, they're very sort of dark and cautionary tales about life, and they go to some extreme places. And so I thought, if you had to write those fairy tales today, what would they look like? And so we sort of do a modern take on them.
Paul, James, tell me about your characters.
I am playing, my character's name is Jordan, and there's three fairy tales kind of coinciding at the same time. And the one that I and Paul are in is The Big Bad Wolf and the Three Little Pigs. Okay. But the character that I play is kind of an affable, happy guy living his life, who is beset with tragedy, which pushes him on this very dark journey. It's about fairy tales, right? But it's about the real world. And it's like there's this story is borrowed from a fairy tale, but we're like in this amazing, very real, very authentic, grounded world that doesn't feel like a fairy tale, but it's just inspired by it.
I love the spoiler-free aspect of your answer.
It's hard because we're not supposed to spoil anything, and my answer is so tied.
It's our first interview, so we're like delicately walking.
It really, but in earnest, like we actually talked about this in the car. So much of what we want to say is so tied to what would give so much away.
Spoiler alert, the hero.
I heard that was a good book.
Paul?
So my character is kind of the opposite of Jordan in that he's a complete derelict. I mean, I hate to objectify him like that, but if I had to, I would say he's this guy who's really, he abuses substances. He's a guy who really comes from, he obviously has a lot of trauma in his life, and he also is sort of beset with tragedy, but it's a tragedy that he walked into. It's a tragedy that he created, be it because he was influenced by someone or because he needed money or because he needed drugs, and as a result of that, his life takes a turn for the worst, even worse than where it is already. And our characters intersect, and we sort of, have the same. We're in the same.
Should we spoil a little bit?
Okay, I'm one of the little pigs. No.
Good guy, bad guy.
Yeah.
And but a bad guy who's made some bad choices.
Yeah.
Who's beset with a life that he never planned on. Who's dealt a bad set of cards.
Right.
And we watch him do some really bad things.
What's it like working with Kevin again?
It's so nice because, I mean, thus far there hasn't been any real. I mean, there's nothing supernatural about our series. It's grounded. It's in New York City. It's the real world. It's modern day. We're doing streaming, and so I'm working with Kevin in a different capacity. You know, when I got the initial show, The Vampire Diaries, which we did for 8 years, I mean, I was 26 years old, and now it's like a decade later, and we're doing something.
Yeah. I just called him up, and I said, do you want to play this part? And he was like, well, what is it? And I explained what the part was. He goes, I'm in. I went, no. It's an ensemble. It's 3 storylines. There's a lot of actors in it. It's not, Stefan. It's not going to be, it's not the big, huge, it's not this big, huge role that he's accustomed to playing. He's, I'm in. New York City, I'm in.
Yeah.
He just wants to act, and he's doing such a beautiful job. It's like so non-Stefan. It's so different from anything he's done, and I sit back in the video village, and I'm just like, wow.
I mean,
wow.
That's very sweet of you, Kevin. I was flattered that Kevin came to me and quite frankly, I am embedded in his mind, I would imagine, as Stefan, and the fact that you were able to sort of give me the creative liberty and the freedom to take on a role that is so the polar opposite of what I had been doing is actually, for me, very flattering. So anyway,
I'm very excited too for everyone to see what an amazing actor he is beyond The Vampire Diaries. That there's so much talent there, and he can just sort of turn into all these different people, which is kind of quite exciting to see. And with this guy, when I think of James Wolk, I think of Zoo. I think of was it Lone Star?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, it was Lone Star that I first saw you in that you're so good in. And I sort of feel like, he's he looks like this nice guy, but he's going to go to a very, very dark place. And it's exciting to watch him take that turn and go into some madness and gets kind of, gets a little.
Well, I'm so grateful for the opportunity to do that.
What's the biggest difference between CBS and CBS All Access?
It feels like we are able to take the reins and run with it, and it feels like we're making a cable type show in that it's dark and edgy, and nothing feels like it needs to be kind of second guessed in order to show it to a broad audience. So it feels like we're able to make like a very specific edgy show.
And and we're not being told, we don't have broadcasting standards the way that you normally do, and so we're able to. I'm able to just write the show and not have to have a 8-page document after every script saying cut this, cut this, cut this.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And like also just, and this is like on a very sort of simplistic level, we were doing a scene and it was a bit chaotic, and it was, it's sort of a scene that is sort of the aftermath of something. There's high emotion and high tension, and if words slip out, it's okay, like we can say certain things, and I've never had that. I haven't had that liberty in 10 years.
I haven't either. It's very freeing for me to be able. It's
here.
my first streaming show. It's my first cable show, really, and so it's really made fun to write.
Kim Cattrall is in the cast.
Yes.
I have a request to make. I would like a third Sex and the City movie, which means things are going to have to get patched up between her and Sarah Jessica Parker. I'm tasking you with being like the diplomatic one who has to go in and
Me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Can you please do that?
I don't know how. She's working. She's filming today for the very first time.
Yeah.
And we're here. So, and I just saw her yesterday. She's lovely. I have had the best time with her. She's taken on this part, and she's dived in, and it's just amazing to sort of watch her, work as an actress, because I've known her as Samantha for so many years, and just to see her take on this new part and this new role and embrace it, and she's playing Little Red Riding Hood's grandmother in the role, and she's unlike any grandmother you're gonna see.
Did you have to sell her on playing a grandmother?
She was all in. She was like, "Let's do this," and she goes, "But as long as we can do it this way," and then she described the way she wanted to do it, and I go, "Well, that's what I want to do," and she was like, "We're in. We're good. Let's do this," and she's excited about the part. And she's actually having a lot of fun, I think. And so I think that's what she's about right now. She wants to have a good, fun experience.